I'm really excited to be here on Unacademy. I'm the former captain of the Western cricket team, and I'm coming back on the field for the Unacademy Road Safety World Series. Today, I want to share my life experience with you and help you understand how you can overcome the toughest challenges with ease. As a learner, despite the pressure, you should always focus on giving a record-breaking performance. My earliest and fondest memory of cricket actually started at about the age of 3. My big brothers, I had 6 older brothers, and one shaped the first cricket bat I had out of a coconut branch. Playing cricket in the streets, in the garage of my house, anywhere possible, and with anything. I talked about a coconut branch, but sometimes the ball was actually an orange, a lime, a golf ball, anything that we can put our hands on. So playing cricket, especially with my older brothers, were some of the fondest memories and things that I will take away for the rest of my life. When Matthew Hayden broke my record in Australia, it was actually 3 a.m. in Jamaica at the time where I was playing a first-class cricket game for Trinidad and Tobago. And I remembered my manager at the time, Jonathan Crystal, called from England, and he gave me a number to call the dressing room where the Australian team was. And I called Matthew Hayden. And to be honest with you, emotion-wise, I was kind of a little relieved because I spent quite a bit of time under that cloud of being a double world record holder and pretty much getting a lot of flack for it sometimes because maybe the West Indies was a little bit of a downward spiral during the same period of time. So I felt actually a little bit of a relief. And I felt now I can focus on my captaincy and focus on seeing if I can get the West Indies team where it really belongs on top of world cricket. Not knowing that 6 months later, I'm going to actually go on and break the record again. So these things aren't planned. I think it's destiny. But going back to my emotions, I was pretty happy for Matthew at the time. And I felt that it would have been something that could help me not to go out and break the record again, but maybe help me in a way where I could help West Indies cricket as a captain and as a player. Pressure is something as a sportsman, and not just a sportsman. It could be in any discipline. It could be sport, it could be education, it could be in your workplace. It's something that you have to embrace. Can you imagine walking out in India, playing for the West Indies at Eden Gardens with 100,000 people there, knowing that they want you out of there? That is pressure, but you've got to embrace it. If you back away from pressure, it's something that's it's not going to help you at all. Right? You've got to be able to understand and embrace it, love it, and turn that pressure around to make sure that you benefit from it. So I've seen a lot of young people or even cricketers in my field look at pressure and they get nervous. You can tell that they're not going to last very long. That's not the way to deal with it. Embrace it, as I said, and work with it and turn that pressure around. It's the greatest feeling when you score a test 100 in an opposing team's country and and everyone in the stands stand up to clap you, appreciating what you have done. That's handling pressure properly. Being compared to my contemporaries is something that I actually never really paid too much attention to. I played a team sport, so obviously team success was most important. Individual success, yes, you want to be successful, but you want to be successful in a team that's successful. And yes, there were many times that I was compared to, say, Sachin Tendulkar or Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh, but I felt that those things were just on the periphery. Those things are developed by the fans, by the spectators, because that's what they're looking for. That sort of rivalry. But for me, and not even with Sachin, every time we see each other, we sort of laughed about it and we went about doing our jobs. And I felt that it actually brought us together as players from different country. I think we had great appreciation for the style that we're playing, and actually we had great appreciation for other players that we played against during our period of time. Just say, for instance, Jacques Callis, and I spoke about Ricky Ponting. I think at that point in time, you have to have a great appreciation. I myself, Sachin Tendulkar was a big star. But what about Rahul Dravid? He was someone who, we felt that, was so difficult to get out. So I think for us, that rivalry or that comparison, if you want to call it, was something that actually didn't pay. We didn't use up a lot of energy thinking about it. It was tough times being the backbone of the West Indies team. I mean, I started playing for the West Indies when we were the best team in the world, invincible. Back in 1989, 90, the West Indies ran 10 years already of not being beaten anywhere in the world. And for the first 5 years of my career, 1990 to 1995, we continued that run and made it 15 years of success. So I was accustomed and I came into a team that, yes, it was an aging team. So Vivian Richards, Gordon Greenwich, Desmond Haynes, Richard Richardson, Jeff Dujon. Yes, they were all in their mid 30s. And what really happened is that we lost about 6 or 7 players at the same time. And in came in a very young and experienced group of players trying to fill the boots of all these great players in the past. And that's where really and truly our problem started. Maybe in hindsight, we could have, replaced one at a time and see if, we get players to get that sort of experience instead of really and truly. And no team at all was scared of the West Indies from the time those great names left. And just talk about the fast bowlers. You had Joel Garner, Michael Holding, Malcolm Marshall, Colin Croft. All of these guys disappeared. Yes, Ambrose and Walsh carried the baton for quite some time, but it made teams a little bit less fearful of the West Indies. Batting wise, I always wanted to be the best. I didn't really intend to be the backbone, but I wanted to be the best batsman, not just in the West Indies team, but in the world. It so happened that it came at a time where, finding that partnership with every single batsman in the team was tough. Shabnir Chandrapur was amazing. Carl Hooper came on and sort of developed when he became captain of the team, and it was tough for us. And I did relish the challenge. I did. I think I stood up pretty well throughout my career, but I'll give anything to be on a successful team. During my period of time, we were in a little bit of a downward spiral, and things was tough. But I wouldn't exchange my career for any other era. I loved the period that I played in for West Indies, and I loved the part that I played in that period. My best test innings, which a lot of people don't agree, but you've got to understand what was going through my mind and the emotions that I was going through, is scoring 213 against Australia in Jamaica. Now, let me just put that in perspective. A lot of people say, well, your 277, which was your first century, was the best. Or a week later, after scoring 213, I scored 153 in Barbados. And Weston, I think, considered that to be the second best innings ever played. But for me personally, 213 in Jamaica in 1999 against an Australian team that was rampant. And let me just give you a little bit more background. Is that we just came from South Africa, lost 5 test matches on the trot. I came back home expecting to be sacked as captain. I was given a probation of 2 test matches. We lost the first one in Trinidad, so that's 6 on the trot. And we entered Jamaica, and I was booed, and I was sort of ridiculed for the position that West Indies cricket was in at the time. So my self-esteem was sort of struggling. My confidence was struggling, and that was a watershed moment in my life when I decided, listen, this could be my last test match as captain. So what? I'm living out my dream. I wanted to play for West Indies. There was no confirmation that I was going to be captain. Enjoy it, Brian. Enjoy what you're doing. And I remember in all that pandemonium and all that negativity, I went out and, for me, showed myself, first of all, the sort of inner strength that I had. So my 213 in Jamaica, for me, was the best that I've ever batted in my life. Records, that's destiny. I don't think at any point in time I set out to break a record. I mean, how could you? Saghafi Soba's record stood for something like 36 to 38 years. You don't just as a 24-year-old think that, listen, I'm going to go break this record. There were so many great players that played in between that time of Saghafi Soba's record and my appearance in the international scene. So I believe that all records are like destiny. It just happens to, you've got to put in the work, of course. It's not going to happen if you just lay back on the beach in the Caribbean and think you're going to break records. You've got to put in the work. And, it just takes its natural course. So I never had sort of any big innings in school where, I was breaking records or youth cricket. And to go out and break Saghafi Soba's record, it was just an unbelievable experience for me. And I got a hunger to score big runs when I scored my first 100 in Sydney, Australia in 1992-93. I was on 130. Rain came and I came off the field and all my teammates were congratulating me. And my coach at the time, a former great West Indian cricketer, Rohan Khanna, I said, set your stalls out. I said, what do you mean? He said, your next inning starts at 0. And from that point, I understood exactly what he meant. He meant to go out and make as much runs as possible. And I fell in love with scoring big scores after that particular innings. And I never looked at 50 or 100 or 150 as a target. I looked at what the team required me to do, and that sort of motivated me through. So record breaking is, I think, destiny, but you need to put in the hard work. Well, it depends on first of all, what you see the cricket pitch like. I mean, for me, playing cricket was not work. It was actually the game that I love. And I have been in many exam rooms where, it's tough and I have to cross that hurdle. So for me, the sort of parallel is meeting a hurdle, So if there was a tough situation, which I had many in the exam rooms while trying to educate myself, because it was not my forte. My forte was sport from a very early age. But that hurdle that I had to cross in an exam room where I felt very challenged, every time that I got over that hurdle, I felt that I accomplished something. Cricket was my love, it was my passion, and at no point in time, yes, I put in the work, but I never found it as being a great challenge because I'm playing something that I love. I'm being paid for something that I love. So for you, if there is something that you feel challenged with, that is what really tests your inner strength. And for me, educating myself, which eventually I did, was tough, but it made me into a better person. So if you're an academic, try some sport, try some cricket, challenge yourself. You would see that you would create situations that you learn more about yourself, and situations where you're really tested in a field that you're not comfortable with. So don't shy away from anything that challenges you. I think you should run into it and see what you can achieve from it. I've got some questions from you guys, so let me answer some of these questions that you guys have sent in. Okay. The first one is from Unacademy, which is that one mistake you made that taught you a valuable lesson? Well, that one mistake that I made was really and truly a watershed moment. When I broke the record in 1994, two records actually, the first class and the test record, I came under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure. And for someone coming from a little village, not expecting to be put into this sort of superstar position, I became very, very resentful. People made me upset because of all the pressure that they were placing on me. And it's something that I told them, I was playing a team sport. What's going on? Why am I being, targeted all the time? And I became very, very defensive. And as an international sports person, if you find yourself in that sort of negative position, things could only spiral downwards. And it did for a period of time. Between 1996 and 1998, I dropped 10 to 12 runs on my average. And I knew really and truly why it was happening. It was because my whole mind was clouded. I wasn't the same person that I was sort of looking forward to playing cricket anymore. So I learned in about 1998 how to deal with it. And my entire career and batting changed around. So I had maybe a 2 or 3 year lull where things went bad. And then I realized that, listen, you've got to embrace this. This is not, you didn't do this for all this sort of negativity. And I really and truly put everything aside and I concentrated on my game. I got back my game and I really and truly valued that lesson that I learned during that period of time. Next question is from Vapav. How did you handle criticism at your peak and at your weakest? Well, I think I just answered that question a little bit. At one point in time, I was not professional about it, and the point that I also want to make is the fact that after that 3 year period, I was at my weakest, and that is when I sort of sit back and said, "Listen, you need to deal with this differently." And all the people that were sort of, pushing negative messages towards me, I actually embraced them and I spoke to them. And I got rid of that monkey in my back. I no longer felt that, I had this animosity between myself and, say, the media or anybody that was a critic. So that is when I learned a lot of myself. Maybe it took to the point where I was so down that I had nowhere to move, that I had to actually approach it that way. So my lesson is to try to understand that situation. And when you're at the top, everybody is going to try to bring you down. And that's when you really have to show your strength. That's when you got to be humble. That is when you got to really understand the position that you're in. It took me a few years. I don't want it to take you a few years. I don't want you to be at your weakest point to actually achieve that and try to rise again. So understand that if you strive to be at the top of your profession, right, there's going to be people picking at you simply to try to throw you off of that pedestal. So, I learned it that way. The next question is from Kunal. A lot of people consider you as their idol. Who was yours? Well, my idols, you may not know. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, the West Indies cricket team in the 70s had an opening batsman called Roy Fredericks, the late Roy Fredericks. Left-handed batsman, diminutive, short, and pretty much, a lot of people called me Roy Fredericks when I was very young. As I grew older, I had an appreciation for all the other West Indian batsmen, players like Desmond Haynes for his resilience, Gordon Greenwich for his technique, Viv Richards for his borderline arrogance and the way how he's commanded the stage. Larry Gomes, who you may not know about, he was Mr. Dependable in the West Indies team. He was not pretty to look at, but whenever the West Indies needed someone to stay there, he was there. And then I also fell in love with players that played against the West Indies team during that tough period where we had four fast bowlers. On many occasions, I saw Alan Border stand up to the four-prong pace attack, whilst everybody else on his team just sort of withered away and left it. So I had a love for Alan Border as well. Outside of cricket, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods maybe not an idol, but Jordan grew up in my period. I was still very young, and I loved the way how he played basketball and how he remained at the top. Tiger Woods, maybe I'm just a fan. Next question is from Bati Chain. Who was your biggest competition during your career? My biggest competition was actually myself. And you've got to understand that is that I played a team sport. It's something that is strenuous. It taxes you. I played for a team that can consist of players from different culture, different background, different islands. Coming together was always a tough situation, and I found myself on many occasions lying in my room trying to work things out. So for me, my biggest competition was myself. And if I was just to go back and give a little roundup of what I spoke about earlier, can you imagine that period of developing myself into a record breaker, being a record breaker, being under pressure, spiraling downwards, and then picking myself up again? So who's my competition? It's me. And throughout my career, I always had to work with my emotions, with my mental state to make sure that I was in the best place possible to perform. Yes, McGrath might have got me out. He might have been my nemesis. The Australian team was the best team after 1995 during my era. Playing cricket in India is always tough, for Pakistan. Yes, all these stuff come at you. But every time I sit down, I knew when I was at my best and ready to perform in any conditions possible. So if you may suffer from the same thing, you just got to know that you are your worst enemy, and you are the person that actually can do anything to get yourself out of that situation to be the best that you can. The next question is from Tajish Kumar. Is there an age limit to achieving your dreams? Can someone be too old to have ambitions? Not at all, but you gotta face reality. It depends on what your dream. I mean, if you want to play cricket for India, you definitely got to be starting very young and trying to learn the rudiments of the game to get yourself into that position. But if you want to be a doctor or you want to be a lawyer, I don't think there's an age limit on that. So I think it all depends on what your dreams are and your ambitions. But I'm almost sure that everybody is sane enough to understand that there's certain things you've got to do early. There's certain things you can do later on in life and still achieve it. So dreaming is very, very important. I have a dream right now. I've already completed my cricket career, but I do have a dream. I mean, you can't really live without having a dream saying, oh, I'm 50 now. I've already played my cricket. I'm going to just sit back and enjoy the rest of my life. Yes, I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to challenge myself in areas that, I want to achieve something else. So yes, I think you're never too old to have ambitions, and you're never too old to dream. Next question is from Gaurav Lal. At which point in your life and career did you feel that you have achieved your dream? That happened in Barbados, 2007, the very last match that I played for the West Indies. And maybe that week leading up, when I decided that it was going to be the end of my career, I really and truly sat back and felt that, yes, I could not have done any better. I have no more that I can really push the West Indies forward. Now, I'm not playing an individual sport. So when I make a decision to retire, yes, part of it is personal, but the other part of it, you've got to take into consideration the team that you're playing for, the people that you're playing for. And I felt in that point in time that I've achieved as much as I could. Yes, I could go back and play for another couple of years. I still had the energy and the zest for the game, but I felt that I did enough. And at that point in time, lifting up my daughter, walking around the ground, saying goodbye to the West Indian people, I felt there and then that, I had 17 good years of playing for West Indies cricket. It was my dream as a boy growing up. listening on the radio. 1976, 77, there was no television around. The West Indies playing in India, they're playing in Australia. And I always felt that I wanted to be a part of that. And to do it for 17 years was just unbelievable. Next question is from Sanya O'Broy. How do you calm yourself down in a stressful situation? Well, first of all, I don't like the word stress because I feel if it gets to that point, it's affecting you already. How do you calm yourself down in a pressure situation, maybe? I think that's better. And we all live under that pressure cooker kind of situation, especially if you really challenge yourself in a big way. It's never, ever going to be easy. And I spoke about embracing it, embracing that challenge, not running away from it, embracing it. That's the only way you're actually going to surpass it. You've got to be able to understand that it's going to be a part of your life throughout. The greatest inventors would be under pressure. The greatest sportsmen, the greatest academics, always under that pressure. Some of them put themselves under that pressure because they love it. They don't love anything easy. No one loves, some people like an easy road, some people don't. You want to be challenged by the best. You want to be under pressure, and you want to be able to defeat that and come out on top. The next one is from Shivji Mishra. Do you think that pressure can also play a positive part in some people's life? Yes, most definitely. I think it is a situation where, as a cricketer and playing for the West Indies, and we spoke about the fact that being the backbone of the West Indies team, every opposing bowler was coming at me. They felt that if they got me out, and then the team is going to be dismantled, we're going to get the rest of the players out. So that pressure was big in my life, and I turned it into a positive. So it's a weird thing to say. Sometimes I felt that if the West Indies were 200 for 2, that I was less prepared for that position than if they were 30 for 3. I sort of relished that position. I sort of knew what to do being under that sort of pressure. The opposing team tail is up in the air. They're coming at you hard. They know that they are in front. And I sort of absorbed that pressure and turned it into a positive and found a way to perform and perform very well. Tamana Ja. Question. I feel like my anticipation of the future is affecting my present ability to work hard. How can I deal with this pressure? What a great question. Why think about the future when you're living in the present? A lot of guys, young cricketers I see, they want to play for the West Indies or they want to do something, but they're just 15 or 16 years old. And during my career, I felt that at every stage of my career, I wanted to be the best in that particular field. So if I was playing under 16 cricket, I wanted to be the best under 16 cricketer. If I'm playing under 19 cricket, I wanted to be the best under 19 cricketer. And from there, just sort of taking charge at each stage of your career. And it's very similar. I mean, I'm not sure, Tamana, what are your future plans, right? But whatever it is, it's only going to happen to the best if you actually take charge of each step along the way. And don't feel that you can hop over this because, I'm going to be such and such in the future. Make sure and defeat and be in charge of every step on the way. And it will only be easier. So from a very early age, people talked about me as a 16-year-old cricketer, as an under-19 cricketer. I remember playing against India, touring Indian team in 1989 in the West Indies under 23 and performing well, playing first-class cricket in the Caribbean, breaking records there before I actually played for the West Indies. So put your future aside. That will take care of itself. Look at what's happening in front of you presently. Command that stage and move on to the next stage, then the next stage, and then you'd realize that you have realized your goals and you're now at the top of your field simply because you've put in all the hard work during that whole process. The last question for today is from Munali Yadav. Would you call a person less motivated towards their goals if he or she does not take pressure at all? Tricky question. I think that not taking pressure doesn't mean that you're not motivated. I just believe that you're not handling the situation very well. I know a lot of guys that are, so motivated to play well, but when it comes to pressure, they can't deal with pressure. So you've got to separate both. I don't believe that they belong together. I think that a guy who is actually not motivated has nothing to, he may even see a pressure situation and just play freely and not understand it's a pressure situation. So being able to take pressure is an art. You have to understand that that is a part of life. Nothing is going to be easy. I remember there's a lot of guys who, if they're playing against one of the minnows in world cricket, they are the best batsmen in the world. I don't want to call any names, but if it's, I will. Zimbabwe at the time back in the day, or Bangladesh, 25 years ago when they were now coming. These guys were so good, performing so well. But if they went to India or they went to Australia, it's a whole different situation. But it doesn't mean that they weren't motivated. It just means that they did not understand how to deal with pressure. And that is an art. It is something that you have to try to put yourself under each and every single time. As a batsman, and I can only say as a batsman, you will know in whatever field that you're in. When I went into bat in the nets, I played it like it was 20 minutes of test cricket. It wasn't 20 minutes of fun. It was me out there in the nets. You cannot get me out Ambrose. You cannot get me out Courtney Walsh. You cannot get me out, Anderson Cummins. And when I spent 20 minutes knowing that I've really and truly, kept these guys out, I felt that I've handled a little bit of pressure. Not the same match pressure, but I am actually preparing myself and my mind. So it is an art. Put yourself under that pressure each and every single time. Do not back away from it. Don't feel that you don't need to do this if you want to achieve that. You have to actually. And Michael Jordan, I don't know if everybody knows, great basketball player, he said that he practiced so hard and he put himself under so much pressure that actually when he got onto match day, he felt he was on cruise control because he did things so much tougher then than he had in the match. So do the same thing. If it's your books, your academic, whatever it is, try to put yourself under greater pressure when you have that time to prepare. So when you get out to do your thing and when people challenge you, you feel very comfortable in that space. Guys, it was nice chatting with you, and I hope this lesson was helpful for you. I had fun, and I wish all of you the best for the future. Go follow your dreams. Take care, everyone.